We launched Brenda's webinar. In 2024, the same webinar is still the firm's best performing lead source. Registrations, she's had nearly 1,000 registrations at a cost per lead of $14. And guys, just from automation alone, just folks that have booked on the book a call directly from the webinar, she's had 46.
You're tuned into the Marketing Lawcast with James Campbell. Brace yourselves for game-changing digital marketing tips and exclusive interviews with industry gurus and top-tier attorneys smashing the 6- and 7-figure barrier. It's time to drive your practice to success. Welcome to the Marketing Lawcast.
Good morning and welcome everyone to today's masterclass. We're going to talk about a very crucial topic today, which is why your webinar funnel failed and what you can do next time to make it succeed. My name is James Campbell. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Integrity Marketing Solutions, and we're going to be going through this topic. My goal is to help you understand why that webinar funnel, if you've tried that in the past, or if you're thinking about trying it in the future, what are the pitfalls? Why do webinar funnels fail? What are the mistakes that law firms make or that agencies make when launching a webinar, and why does it just not turn out the way that we want? And what can be done to reach the success benchmarks that we really want to achieve? Let's go ahead and get into today's training. Okay, webinars are a very powerful tool in your marketing arsenal, especially in evergreen or on-demand webinars, we call it. We all have high hopes for what a webinar can achieve, whether it's generating leads or reducing marketing costs, but as many of us have discovered, the reality often falls short. So let's explore why that happens. When we create a webinar, we typically have a few goals in mind. First, we hope it's going to pre-qualify prospects, making them more educated and maybe helping them become more prepared or ready to make quick decisions about their estate plan. We also expect it to consistently generate leads. We're hoping that this leads to a steady growth of our practice. It's money that we should be able to bank on. That's why we set the webinar up in the first place, right? Beyond that, we're hoping that we're profitable. Ideally, if we can put $1,000 in, we want to pull $10,000 out. We also want to reduce our marketing cost and man hours. So if we can do this well on the front end, we can sort of set it and forget it. Wouldn't that be great if we could just set it and forget it and let that webinar run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Wouldn't it be great if that would just bring in leads without any additional effort whatsoever? And I think that's sort of the mindset that a lot of law firms go into when they start thinking about putting a webinar funnel together. Guys, but here's the truth. Let's get a little bit of a reality check here. Many webinar funnels fail. Despite your best intentions, common mistakes often sabotage your efforts, leaving you frustrated and without the results that you expected. So what are these mistakes? Guys, today we're going to drive into the most crucial ones. So if you're thinking about putting a webinar funnel together, if you're taking notes, this is where you want to start writing stuff down. The first mistake is often overloading on education. Focusing too much on education can be the downfall, even though we want our prospects to become educated. If that's what we focus on in our marketing and our webinar, we're going to run into trouble. Often, attorneys load these webinars with information about estate planning strategies, expecting prospects to sort of connect the dots themselves. But the reality is, your visitors, your people that are registering for and watching your webinar, guys, they're not attending so that they can get a law degree. They don't want to leave that webinar with a JD after their name and be able to draft their own estate plan. They want solutions to their problems. And guys, overloading them with information is a surefire way to lose their attention. And what happens when we lose their attention? We make things boring, okay? When things become boring, that's when people check out. So kind of related to that issue of losing their attention is just the boring content. When we dive too deep into education, the content often becomes irrelevant or too complex for the viewer. If your webinar doesn't capture their interest or connect to their personal situation, guys, they're going to check out before they ever even hear your offer or get to the good stuff of what they can do to make a positive decision to move forward. Part of that boring content is what we talk about. If they check out, they never get to your offer. A lot of times attorneys will do this webinar, create this webinar funnel, and they'll have a very weak, if any, call to action at all. So this is another big mistake, is not having a very strong call to action. And guys, without a compelling reason to take the next step, your prospects will leave the webinar satisfied with the information that they received, but without any motivation to book a call or to engage any further with your firm. Guys, the quality of your presentation also plays a critical role. So when we see it looks like, a virtual assistant from Pakistan built your webinar presentation, right? And it's just very amateur. Guys, this personifies your firm. If your webinar look or sounds low quality, it won't attract premium prospects. Things like DIY video production or poor audio, which is probably the most important thing, is having crystal clear audio. But having poor audio or bad video production can make your firm appear unprofessional. It can make your firm look like you cut corners, like you do things on the cheap, like you're looking for the easy way out. And guys, this drives away the very clients that you want to attract. All right, also ineffective ads. So this is the front end of the funnel. This is what draws people into register for your webinar. Even if your webinar is great and it's not boring and it's talking about their pain points and what they're interested in and what they're worried about, and you have a strong call to action, if your ads are ineffective, it'll kill your funnel. If the messaging in your ads don't align with your audience's concerns, and then in turn your webinar speak to those concerns, or if the landing page is poorly designed, you will not get the registrations that you need. A mismatch between your ad and the landing page, or the ad and your webinar, can be just as harmful as a bad ad or a bad webinar itself. So making sure that those things connect, that we're telling the same story, from the ad to the landing page to the webinar to the call to action to the email follow-ups, everything needs to be in alignment. And when it's not, it's going to throw off the performance of your funnel. Another mistake is lack of follow-up. Another big issue is what happens, or actually doesn't happen, after someone registers. You need to have a few things in place. First off, you've got to leverage technology. You need to have a CRM system in place to automate your follow-up emails, texts, and of course, even phone calls. Of course, that's not done by the CRM, maybe done through the CRM. But automation isn't enough, guys. Personal follow-up, like a phone call, is absolutely essential to convert these leads into clients. Many firms drop the ball here, leaving valuable leads just to go completely cold. A great system to do, guys. Remember that when you're asking for registrations for your webinar, you're asking for their first name, their last name, their email, and we also ask for their phone number. So if we ask for their phone number and people give you their phone number in order to be able to register for that webinar, you've got to have somebody calling them, okay? There's got to be phone calls that take place to follow up with these people. And there's got to be some scripting or some sort of training involved for what to say when you get on the call. Finally, there's the issue of your budget or your investment. A few $100s a month will not get your ads seen by enough people to make an actual difference in your law firm. You have to be willing to invest in both the production of your webinar and the ads to promote it. A webinar funnel is not something that you can just willy-nilly put out there and think it's going to revolutionize your practice or have any sort of positive result at all. Without adequate funding, guys, your funnel just won't reach its full potential. Now, if you have questions, make sure that you're writing those in the chat, and we'll address those at the end of the presentation. I know a lot of you are going to have questions about budget, and it really depends on the market. So put your questions into the chat. We'll answer those at the end of the presentation, and we'll talk a little bit more about budget.
That's a wrap on this edition of the Marketing Lawcast. Thanks for joining us. Head over to imsrocks.com for more growth-focused insights. If you're ready to skyrocket your firm's marketing, don't hesitate to book a free strategy call with our team right on our website. Here's to your success. See you next time.